Hello, my name is Faith, and welcome to Field and Foley. Today's guest is Scott Hitchon, a freelance DGC sound editor and re-recording mixer working out of Toronto, Canada. Scott has won awards such as a DGC Award for the show Fellow Travelers and a CSA for Best Sound Nonfiction for the documentary Once We're Brothers, most recently working on the BAFTA, MPSE, and Oscar-nominated film Frankenstein. Scott brings stories to life and adds depth and breadth to each production through sound. Welcome to the show, Scott.
Hi. Well, happy to be here.
Absolutely. I'm excited to have you. I was just refreshing up on watching Frankenstein the other day, so I'm really excited to talk about it. But first, maybe you can tell us a bit how you got into sound editing and re-recording mixing in general, just to start.
Yeah. I actually went to school here in in London, Ontario, for music industry arts. So it was more music focused, they had business classes, production classes, recording, but they introduced audio post to you. And then there was a third optional year, and I, being a not superb musician, really enjoyed the post production. I was like, this is really cool. I had other friends who were way better musicians who were like, I'm cutting feet. What is this? This is so boring. So just, it started from there. And so I took the post-grad year of audio post, and I just haven't stopped since. I graduated in May of 2012 and had an internship by October that year. Nice. And I interned at a studio, interned at another studio, and through that moved to Toronto. I started in commercials for those 2 years, interning / working. And then landed at Technicolor here in Toronto,
nice.
Which is now, I guess, Formosa Sound. So Technicolor was, I guess, bought out by Streamland, which is their parent company, which is now Formosa. Shortly after that happened, I was in the midst of transitioning over to freelance, and I've been doing that for the last 3-4 years. So yeah.
Nice. Very cool. How has freelance been treating you?
I can't complain. It's been really good. I luckily, because I worked at Technicolor, I met a lot of people, and just with the way things are structured here, with the DGC, I met a lot of freelance sound editors. So when I went freelance, I had a lot of contacts and stuff, and luckily, I had done an okay job working, so people were like, "Yeah, we'll take you. Yeah, here, we'll put you on this." So it worked out.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you found your work with Frankenstein through being freelance, and then I assume you went in person to work on some of it, or did you do that mostly from home?
Mostly we all kind of work from home. So So we're technically freelance, but I kind of with a group called Sound Dogs. And our, I guess, head of Sound Dogs is Nelson Ferreira, who was on Shape of Water, Nightmare Alley, and tons of other stuff. So I started working with them. He basically just, we're all freelance, but he puts teams together, and we're just kind of branded under a nice, I guess, collective is the word. And working with them, and then I worked directly with him as his assistant on Megalopolis, the Francis Ford Coppola movie a couple years ago. And from there, I just kind of followed him and Nathan Robitaille, the sound designer, onto Frankenstein. So
nice.
I had met Nelson, I think probably 2 weeks into working at Technicolor, give or take, or at least a couple months, and then just would bother him here or there, make sure he remembered who I was. So, yeah.
Ain't that just the way?
Yep.
So with Frankenstein, like what hats were you specifically wearing?
So I guess I had an interesting transition on that. So I was the assistant sound editor when we started. And the way Sound Dogs kind of does stuff with its assistants is if you have a bit of an interest either in dialogue or sound effects, they do like to nurture that. So I was getting all the stuff and prepping all the production audio and all the dialogue stuff to give to Nelson and the other dialogue editors, but I was also cutting the backgrounds on the movie. So, but given the scale, so I was cutting the backgrounds, and then there was 4 sound effects editors, one of them being Nathan, and they all took their chunks, and sometimes they would do some backgrounds and then stuff. And then I just, as things going, I kept getting bits from Nathan to be like, hey, do you mind helping with this? Can you cut this? So on top of being an assistant, by the end of it, they bumped me up, and I ended up being one of the sound effects editors.
Nice.
So yeah, I kind of went from assistant to editor in the one movie. But yeah, so should I go into detail about what stuff I was doing? Yeah. So as the assistant, like I said, we get the picture, obviously, but we also get all of the production audio. So usually we have a few steps to prep that because it comes in. We kind of, depending on the naming, we rename everything with, I forget the software, with Wave Agent. Basically, so when you look at it, it's the take and the slate. Like, just quick glance, you can be like, oh, okay, this is what this is. And then, sometimes we de-interleave depending on workflow. So we prep all that, get it to everyone who needs it, because it's usually almost a terabyte sometimes. And then my next big step is getting the EDLs from the picture department, so the edit decision list, and putting together the dialogue session and making sure it works. Because, I remember when I first started, I'm like, because I started in mixing, I was like, I don't know how you take all this random audio and make a session from, like 14 takes. How do you know? Obviously, there's software that does that. So I was using EdiLoad, which takes all the production and the EDL and goes, oh, from here to here, we use take whatever from this scene, and, builds your session. Sometimes, depending on the production, I'll also go through and I'll bring everything up and I'll do what we call mic selection. So I'll go through, and if there's, 7 characters on screen, I'll clean up when other people aren't talking. So like in Frankenstein, Victor's talking, but Elizabeth and Hollander were on screen or something. I'd get rid of their mics. And then on the next shot, oh, she's talking. So I'd get rid of the other mics. So it's basically boom, lavs for whoever's talking. And then we also auto line stuff. Basically giving the dialogue editor, hey, here's a clean session, you can go. And there's various degrees. Some editors like just get me the raw conform of all the dialogue. I'll do my mic select. So yeah, Frankenstein was interesting because there was a couple shots where there were, I don't know what you want to call them, I guess micro speed ups on some of the shots. So not like super fast, but just enough that I was like, why is this start and sync and go out? And we figured it out. It was fine. It was something I hadn't encountered. I guess GDT does that on some stuff. So that was a learning curve. But yeah, so that's usually where I go. And then once that goes to the dialogue editor, that's usually when I switch over and I start cutting backgrounds with the sound effects team. Which is, yeah, on this movie was a whole thing.
Well, yeah, I bet, because I mean it's quite the period piece too. Yeah. So not only do you have to have like good quality, but you've got to have the right time period. So what was that like?
So that was interesting. Because like you said, as you've seen the film, they're in it's period piece, and there's one time he's walking through the streets and it's like there's no pavement. It's just a muddy street.
Yeah.
Luckily, there was me and another sound editor had also tackled that a bit. But yeah, it was a lot of making sure there's no cars in any of the background stuff, finding crowds. I did use a lot of, I think it's Boom. There's a medieval library that has a lot of good crowd stuff. They can trickle in. Yeah, and then when you're not in the cities, like just finding wins. The directive I got from Nathan was, if you think you've put too much detail in, you haven't, keep going. And it was it was fun because, you know, normally backgrounds can be anywhere from, you know, really simple. We try to do good backgrounds all the time, but this was that extra like 20% of like, if you see that all of a sudden trees move, add in something that would justify that, even if it wasn't before. So like, I would have bed tracks, but like the amount of specs and little things I would put in, like the background edit alone looked like a sound effect session, which was so cool. But yeah, the winds, I was constantly trying to find winds that would go together. And I remember there's one round, there's a shot when it's young Victor and they're all standing outside and his father pulls up in a carriage. There's trees in the background and I cut winds for them, but there was one tree that was sticking out a bit extra and I really cut all this stuff. And I was doing a review session with Nathan and he's like, that sounds awesome. That tree does not need that much sound in that. Like, he's like, I'm glad you like, this is, you know, me trying to figure out the style. He's like, I'm glad you focus, but like, let's go with the big trees in the back, not the little one that's like halfway between all this. So it was definitely a learning thing of like, I was cutting good, but just, you know, okay, detail, but like, you know, finding that balance of a lot of detail, but not everything needs to be super cut.
Yeah.
But also at the same time do that. So yeah, we went through many rounds and Nathan's great. He does that with all of us. You know, we'll give him stuff. He'll go through it, adjust. And his notes are always good. And it's always, like he touches everyone's stuff. And he always says that he's like, don't be like, you know, it's fine if I like do stuff. It doesn't mean it was bad. It just, he's like, you know, he's the supervisor. It all goes through him. So it kind of has to have his flair at some point. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was, so many wins.
And I bet too, like with the, like, once you get to adult Victor in the big creepy mansion, like what was it like making like ambiances and like, because it's got like, because like the top's open, like the roof is kind of open. Yep. So you kind of hear like a little bit of outside and there's kind of like these broken windows, but you're also inside and it's probably like super like reverberant, but it's also made of stone. So was that also a challenge coming up with that?
That was interesting because one of the notes we got creatively was also because it's on a cliff. So we wanted to hear the waves. We wanted access to waves most of the time. And I got charged with that at one point. Nathan gave me a couple of things to watch. He's like, watch these, specifically these episodes or whatever movie it was, and like try to mimic the sound. So I did that. And, you know, we cut like, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes of like waves. And it was like 4 layers syncing up waves. So it sounded like one thing. And then placing it all over. And then the mix team had to put that in. So that was one element. And then, so the top where he's working with the ceiling open, that obviously you could hear the waves more, but we'd have birds and stuff because it's open. And that was more, I guess, wind because like it's open and then just some air tones. So that felt a bit more like breathing. But then, the like big entrance hall of the tower, that was a bit more tonal. We had some like thicker air tones and stuff. So the waves were still kind of there, but a little less. But that had the like, hey, it's going to be reverb. So, you know, couple of generic just air tones, but then tonal things to just make it feel big and something. Yeah. So
it worked. It was so creepy.
Oh, glad. I'm glad.
Especially in the scene where like he's finally made it and then like I can't remember their names, but like his brother and his fiance show up.
Yes.
But like their uncle is, I mean, like spoiler, I won't spoil it, but
yeah.
a bad thing has happened, and like he's like, "Oh, you're here," and I'm like,
And he's,
but then you can kind of hear the basement a little bit because she's starting to hear the creature, and it's like, oh.
Yeah, that was a fun little sequence of making that voice come through on the mixed stage. I think we had mostly nailed it, and it was one of the times that Guillermo was with us, and we just kind of tweaked it a bit. But yeah, that was always fun because it was like finding the spacing of, okay, how far is that staircase down and stuff, and then yeah, that basement area, that was fun too because it's wet, like it's just there's water and like there's windows that are like on the lower part and kind of, you know, off of the cliff, and then there's the big tunnel that's used later. So again, the waves were a prominent thing, but yeah, everything was wet, and we had to find water that was trickling but also moving, but not like a heavy stream. Yeah, water is a difficult challenge, as I think we've all experienced at some point as sound people.
Yeah.
It's the
sure.
Yeah. Okay, it sounds like water, but it's not big enough, or it's too big and it's just white noise. It's always a balancing act with water. Yeah, the tower is a lot of fun because of all those different elements. So I think the most generic would be the bedroom, because that's just kind of air tones with some wind, or like windows. So it's just, okay, you got the waves, you got the stuff. It's kind of like the tower top, but just a bit more, you know, normal, I guess.
Yeah.
So
it's a little more enclosed.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like which group of like either like Foley or sound effects did the like really surgical, like needles sticking in, like kind of the surgery bits. Like I was trying to think, I was like, I don't know if that would be like a Foley thing or a sound effects thing, or maybe like a little bit of both. Like maybe you guys shared that. Like what did that look like?
That was both.
Okay.
Yeah, that was both. Nathan at some point got a picture from Foley. If I remember it correctly, it was like a tarp on a table or a ground and just raw chicken. And just some weird things. The Foley team from Footsteps, they're just outside of Toronto, and they work on they work on tons of huge stuff. But yeah, they did some weird stuff, especially I forget what they used, but the one bone kind of popping into the other one at one point. Yeah, or it might have been the eye socket too, when he's plopping the eye. Yeah. Yeah, that scene's funny because anytime like you talk to people who watched it, we went and saw it because in Toronto it premiered at TIFF. So my wife and I went, and she does not do gory stuff like that, and she looked away, and tons of people said that, they're like, you look away but you can't escape the sound that's there.
Yeah.
I know Nathan mentioned that in one of his interviews that he did. And yeah, the sound of that was just great. And contrast with the music, this waltzy, fun thing. It's just full swing of Victor's in his element, and he gets to just do what he's been wanting to do for like years.
That was like a stunning scene. Like this, everything from the sound to like the cinematography of it to just like the most raw, figuratively and literally visuals. It was like
so good.
Crazy.
And you know that there's so much there that's practical too, because Guillermo is such a big like loves practical stuff. So obviously there's still VFX in the movie, but like there's a lot of that stuff that's there. Like there's definitely prop dead like corpses of whatever they used to make that, and like that whole sequence was fun. So
when you're seeing it before the VFX are done, you still kind of have like a
good
image of like you've got lots to work with. Like lots of times with, if you're the sound on something that has a lot of VFX, you don't know what it looks like until you're like almost done.
Yeah, there's this one was great because we'd get picture and it was like, oh my god, there's stuff we can cut to. Um, and even when there wasn't, like, yeah, we always had something that we could at least go with, and we were constantly getting different picture updates and stuff. So even when things were rough, we were at least getting some sense. I think the biggest thing that would change, I'm trying to remember that, like, kind of definitely was like, oh, we got to adjust, was the wolves. When we've switched to the creature side of the story. That scene actually, that whole little montage of him being in the millworks and the wolf attack, we had actually worked on that a good couple months before we actually started the movie. So yeah, we did some temp ADR and stuff. So I helped Nelson with that, and then yeah, we did some cutting and stuff. So that scene had already been going through stuff, but yeah, there's definitely a couple times where the wolf showed up. It's like, okay, that needs an adjustment, but it was always good. I think that was the coolest thing with this project was when we would get something, everyone was like, okay, let's go, let's do this. Like, it was such a good team of people on all the departments that everyone wanted to work. Like he finds such good crews, and then, you know, like, those people find their crews. So, you know, like, Guillermo picked Nathan and Nelson, and then they picked them, like, and then they had me and some other people. But yeah, it just, everyone wanted to do a good job. He brings out the best creative part in everyone. It's awesome. So
that leads like perfectly into, I mean, you might have even just answered it, but that leads like perfectly into what my next question was, which, like, with any film, like, there's like a whole, like, a extremely long, like, domino effect needs to fall like exactly right every single time for like the whole movie as a whole to be just like absolutely stellar. And there's just so many working parts. Is there something that you notice uniquely about Frankenstein, and even projects like Fellow Travelers and Once Were Brothers, Eternal Spring, like ones that like have all been nominated for sound awards or won sound awards, that you've worked on, that you notice that the team like really like elevated the final product, that like caused it to be kind of like an award magnet, you know?
Yeah.
Like what the communication looked like, the team looked like the knowledge like that they brought to the project.
I think Guillermo, specifically for Frankenstein, he is a creative mad scientist in the best way possible. I was always floored. And this was like Nathan and Nelson and a couple of other Sound Dogs people had worked with him on Shape of Water, Nightmare Alley. I think The Strain was like the first introduction, which was a TV show. And some other movies that he had produced. So he was in their show, and they've this was one of those movies where just everything felt right for them, as far as like they understood his style, he understood theirs, and it was just this glorious feedback, creativity. And then I had been with Nathan for a little bit, so I got the joy of watching all this and participating, obviously. So yeah, seeing him be confident and creative and just trusting his team really lent itself to people wanting to do their best and get as passionate about it as he was. And same with Fellow Travelers was a good one. The showrunner on that, like, he had lived through those eras. So there was times where, because that show jumps from the 1950 all the way to the 80s in basically there's a couple different episodes per decade in those. And he was very specific about certain things. And it was one of those things that as you're getting these tidbits, you can see how much passion they had for it. You're like, okay, I want to nail this. Like, even we had loop group, very specific details for loop group. So we'd have like a session of just loop group, and then we'd have like a loop group that was a bit more specific to maybe a club or a scene in that show. So again, it was always passion and just, you know, that one started, the showrunner was, you know, once he got comfortable with us, I'd say didn't take long, maybe half an episode. And he just was like, okay, I trust my team. And it was more of a, collaborative process. Yeah, it's usually it. There's usually at some point your client trusts you and you get this process and they just, obviously it's theirs. They're going to dictate whether they like something or not. But it's once they see that you're passionate about what they're doing and you're delivering something and that trust forms, and that's such a fun time because that doesn't always happen. We've all been on projects where we still get it done. It was a fine process, but sometimes directors or clients can be extra protective, which is fine. They've sometimes have dreamt this idea all the way to finishing it, and it's a hard thing sometimes to let other people in on. Which is, you just adapt and go. But yeah, it's usually when the client's collaborative and trusts you. It's so much fun. It helps when the show or the movie's good too. But, yeah.
Yeah, that always helps. With like how intricate of like a sound project that was. I would be shocked if it wasn't recognized by
it was
awards.
Yeah, with Frankenstein, it's still just been a whirlwind. And I'm not like I'm on the MPSE ballot, but Nathan and Nelson are on all the big ones, and they're great about it. I have to say that is every time someone says something, they're like, we're on the name, but this is all of ours. Like, they're not egotistical about it. They're such great mentors and great people to work with. They want you to learn, they want to share. They're very much the team. They're never once like, oh, I picked a team, but it's my team, it's my whatever. They're not that. So they make us feel all welcome. I think within, I don't know, 20 minutes of the nominations coming out for the Oscars, they had already sent out a big email being like, this is all of us, this is amazing, just like, this is the Sound Award. It's like, oh, okay. So yeah, that's been the other thing, just like, oh my god, this is happening. And like they did it 8 years ago with Shape of Water. And even then though, it's still a shock. Like,
yeah,
leading up to it, there was the maybe, and then it was on the short list. It's like, okay. And then you look at the short list, I'm like, I've seen most of these movies in theaters. I went paid because I was excited to go see these big movies. I'm like, yeah. And that's the other thing this year. The nominations are great. Like F1, big car movie, Sinners being the like music monolith it is, and tons of other stuff. That movie I loved. We just saw Surratt last night. Which is the one of the Oscar noms. It was a screening, and the sound designer flew in to talk with us and stuff. And that movie was
sweet.
Yeah, that movie was great. If you haven't seen it yet, the sound on that was just.
I haven't. I should though.
It was good. If you can, try to watch it in an immersive format. But it was really good. It's definitely by the end you feel a certain way. It's not necessarily a happy movie, but it was so good. And she was awesome. She talked to us and answered questions and stuff. So yeah, another great movie and totally different. That was a nice thing. And then there's one battle after another. Everyone's kind of got their vibe. So it's not like it's not all like a Marvel or Star Wars movies, which are totally fun.
Yeah.
I'm a massive fan, like Star Wars fan, but it's nice to see a diversity. It's really cool. So
that is awesome. Yeah. And it like all so totally well deserved.
Yeah, it's
all just stellar. Moving more from like the editing to like mixing. The mixing stage, it can be like, it's quite a tricky thing to like make sure all of the frequencies are all really well balanced through the sound effects, through the ambiences. How early does that kind of like start for you? Like starting, even with the ambiences and with the sound editing, and are you like still kind of keeping the whole mix in mind as you work and trying to work within like certain frequencies and stuff, or do you kind of tackle that more on the mix stage?
I've had an interesting, because I started as a mix assistant at Technicolor
Mm.
here in Toronto, and then started mixing, and then went freelance, and then jumped onto the edit side, which has been a huge benefit. But even editors who have never really mixed, just experience wise, you're always kind of cutting with all frequencies in mind.
Mm.
But like backgrounds, for example, having Nathan always gave me a directive of like, you're cutting winds and they need to be detailed, have them detailed, but make sure you have like a high, medium, and low. Don't have just a bunch of things that are low end or high end. So even if we cut all frequencies, there's still enough of a grab bag that if once everything's put together with the music and the dialogue, it's like, oh, this all sounds great, but the music's really low end or something, they can shape it out and we still have a majority of our sound. So it's kind of you're thinking about it, but you're also just trying to get the best out there. But it is definitely a thought, like, okay, make sure that there's space if this gets taken out or something. And then, yeah, once you're on if I'm ever on the mix side, yeah, that's just, yeah, you basically get handed all of it and you make it work. So
it's like, now you have to figure out what to do with what you made.
Yeah.
Do you have like a specific, a system you have for kind of like carving out those frequencies, or you really just like have just trained your ears over the years, or are there ways that you make your life easier with that on the mix stage?
I would like to hope that I've trained my ears over the years. I think it's the correct answer. Because yeah, I spent, like I said, I worked at Technicolor for like 6.5 years, and we had anywhere from like 1 to 6 stages going at a time. And I just, you kind of live in them. But yeah, so one of it is, yeah, you get kind of used to your ears. The biggest challenge sometimes, especially freelance, is jumping around to different rooms. So like smaller stuff, I'll mix at home. And sometimes, budget wise, if we have it, it's the like go book like a bigger room and go listen to it there for a playback. But, you kind of jump around from studio to studio. So you eventually hit a point where like, okay, I've been to all these studios. So you train your ear with that. And then, yeah, it's just, yeah, train your ear and tips and tricks of like, okay, low end can be here, high end can be here, roughly. Especially when you're pre-mixing, because a lot of the times when I'm mixing, there's 2 of us. So, and I'm usually doing sound effects and Foley, and the other mixer's doing dialogue and music. So when you're pre-mixing, you're kind of doing a global, like, okay, get everything in a nice shape, sounds, everything, low end sitting where it should, high end sitting where it should. And then when it comes together is when you start more doing the creative carving of, oh, you know what? Actually, I'm going to push some low end here because the scene story wise is dictating it. Or, okay, they want to hear more music. They don't really care about some other stuff. I'll make some room. And that's where the creative fun with mixing comes in, is this fun, just like taking something that's, technically right, like you can hear everything, but the like, we don't want any music or any dialogue or any music. And, it's some like a weird scene where people are clearly talking, but creatively it's like, okay, just take everything out but the music. And that's always really fun. And panning too, especially in Atmos. And, even just 5.1, it's just the fun, like, putting things places. Does it work? Is it too distracting? Yeah, I like trying to get into the, you can really get into the, I guess, psychology of sound when you're mixing. You can with editing too. They both go hand in hand, but especially with frequencies, I remember one of the early things I learned was adding a bit of extra like low end to feet sometimes. And the mixer's like, sometimes, not always, but he's like, when you do that, it helps it land at the bottom of the screen. And I was like, oh, he's like, don't overdo it, because then obviously you're going to sound like, someone's walking and they're this giant monster thing. He's like, just a little bit sometimes helps it anchor to the bottom, especially on wider shots. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So yeah, mixing's got all those little tricks of like playing with frequencies to like help dictate some story stuff. So.
And especially now with mixing the, like just the whole scene with going to the theater as often has changed, and making movies for streaming has changed, because I mean that was a Netflix movie. I don't think no, it was probably in theaters. I don't know.
Frankenstein was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Our movie theater here closed down. So
Oh,
now in
no.
order to watch a movie in theaters, I have to drive at least 2 hours to my closest movie theater. I live in such a small town. So I'm a little bit out of the loop when it comes to movies in theaters now, which sucks.
Oh no, that sucks. It's such
awful.
Such a hard, weird thing nowadays, because like I feel like there are people who go out and go see movies, but I'm always torn between I want to go see it in theaters and I don't want to leave my house or like my apartment, which is a horrible excuse for that. But yeah, it is such a weird thing, because like, so Frankenstein had a limited theater run, so it did go to theaters, but it wasn't everywhere. Like I know I had some friends that wanted to see it, and they were in the same situation. They were like, I had to drive like 2 hours if I want to go see it in a theater. Yeah, so it was interesting, because I know that was a big thing when it was coming out. People were like, this needs to be like, we mixed it in theatrical Atmos. It was supposed to go to, we mixed it for that format. So yeah, it was nice that some people got to see it in theaters. And I know since they've done a couple of like, hey, we're going back, these cities are gonna get it and stuff. Yeah, it's always a challenge of, you want it to sound good in the best format, but you also know that there's gonna be people that are gonna watch it on their phone, which is, it's fine. It's the world we live in. And that's what, all the production companies and studios have their delivery specs. So you adjust things so it can play better on a, home theater Atmos or 5.1 or stereo. The downside is not everyone's got the same amount of time. Like Frankenstein had, I believe they had a good time to just, a couple days or more just to like sit and watch it with some stuff tweaked to play it on different formats. But sometimes it's just, it's a different department that's like, here's the settings, go, It's definitely gotten more important though, especially with streaming. Back when I first started, there was definitely like I'd sit at my desk with headphones and it was like, okay, here's the stereo. It's really quick and dirty. It just, but yeah, with Atmos coming in, and more streaming, there's more of a push for slightly more controlled deliverables. So.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's like trying to get a 16 lane highway into like a one-way skinny London street. It's like but there are people out there that watch it on their phones and you still want it to sound good for them. It is quite the challenge. I'm pretty sure I knew somebody who watched the entirety of like the first Avatar movie on their phone once, and I'm like, that's like
totally as intended.
That's totally how it was intended to be watched, right? It's like, oh my gosh.
I've seen, it's when you see those memes and it's usually like a Christopher Nolan movie and it's someone watching it on a TV at like their hairdressers or something, and the TV's like on a wall in a corner. It's like watching this as intended. I'm like, oh no.
No, please.
Yeah.
Every member of production is just crying.
Yeah, it's such a weird, like, it's fun because people can watch stuff. We can consume media so much in all these different formats. It's great. And I'm sure there are people who are probably watching more stuff nowadays than they did before because of different comforts. But on the art side of the people who do it, we're like, oh, but like, you can't, like, the costumes look gorgeous and you can't, like, on the little screens, they don't pop as much, or the cinematography just, it's still there, but it doesn't pop. Yeah. It's always interesting.
Yeah. That is why I try and go to the theater as much as I can.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Changing gears from Frankenstein a little bit. You sent a clip of a short film that you worked on to me a little bit earlier, and I'll put like a little snippet of the sound design in here as I'm talking about it. You worked on some like really cool like anime sequences, and it sounds like just absolutely like thick, weighty anime sound design. What was your role on that? What was it called?
So it's a short film called Leopard.
Okay.
And I the re-recording mixer and mostly the sound editor on it was a friend of mine who we worked together. He's in LA now, but he was initially in Toronto, was Brett Killerin. And we still try to work together even though he's in LA. And he called me up and he's like, "Hey, I've got this short movie. It's with some people we've both worked with." And he's like, I'm gonna mix it. I've done all the dialogue editing, but there's these anime sequences. He's like, "Would you like to do them?" Because I'm a massive anime fan. And he was like, and this is dating my age a bit, but he was like, the main note we got was Dragon Ball Z. And I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." He's like, do you want the budget? I'm like, "No, I'll do it." I'm like, "I don't care. I'll do it." I don't think I've ever cut so fast and well in like at like those two mediums together. Like I've cut really good, sometimes cut really fast, but I cut fast and really good in like such a short amount of time because I was just in heaven. Like all those sounds, you're like, "Oh, I wish I could like play with these and stuff," because it was strict, just over the top anime fight scenes. I'm like, this is my like, I can do this. I know this. So it was a lot of fun because he's like, "You don't need to focus on anything else, just these bits." I was like, "Okay, cool." It was so much fun. So
just gave you your like ideal work environment.
Oh yeah, I like anything I've because anime has such a unique, as far as with the art, has such a unique soundscape. And like things are over exaggerated. There's sounds where nowhere else has ever put sound in things and stuff. Which is one of the reasons he's like, "I don't watch anime." He's like, "I could cut this, but I don't think I'm gonna nail the subtleties of what should be there." So that was a lot of fun. And my wife's a fan of anime, so I'd have her come in. I'm like, "I'm not crazy, this works, right?" She's like, "Yeah, okay." And she's like, "Okay, maybe tweak that and all that." She's like, the sounds, there's a sound that needs to go there. You have a sound, but it's not the right one. It needs to be like." It was fun having her outside perspective. So I had a blast on that.
That's awesome. Do you have like some like favorite like anime sound libraries that you pull from? Do you like just make a lot of them yourself?
I have a couple. It's actually been really funny being a fan of all that stuff. There was a while where there was no anime libraries. There was like a couple of YouTube tutorials explaining how to get anime over the top sounds, like some of the crazy like explosions or power up sounds. And then clearly, like, as millennials and Gen Zs have been coming in the industry, people have been making all these anime libraries, and it's so good. So like I use Pro Sound Effects anime library a lot. I have that, and I think it was a lot of that combined with some other tidbits I had found over the years. So a combination of me making stuff, that library, and also just backing it up with other fun things that you would tweak to make anime sounding. So so much fun.
That is awesome. When I opened that up, I just opened that up now because I saw you sent it, and then I was like, "Oh man, I need to listen." And I just hit play, and I was like,
I'm glad.
My jaw just dropped. I was like, "Holy crap!"
It was a combo of, because it was anime, like I know this is ear candy, and also because I know the director and the producers well. I was a bit more like, I could just text them, be like, "Are you okay if I use this?" Whereas sometimes other stuff, there's a whole process of like, "Hey, are we allowed to use this? Can we use that?" So that one for sure was like, okay, I can at least send her that to listen to.
Yeah. Well, it was awesome. It was stunning.
Awesome.
When I was looking back on your IMDb, I've seen you got quite a few like Hallmark, like reality TV, that type of a thing. And I wanted to ask because like I did my internship in Vancouver, and Vancouver also had quite a few of those. And at least when I was doing my internship, the turnaround was so fast. Like the deadlines were so fast. And I assume maybe it's just always been that way. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But like,
Yep.
what are some of the ways that you handle that like lightning quick turnaround deadline? Like some ways that you had to like optimize your workflow.
So those were always fun, and I have most of those I was either the assistant mixer or the mixer on, but I have also since done a couple of edit ones on them. And yeah, they're quick. At least on the mix side, it's usually 2 days pre-mix per side. So dialogue gets 2, sound effects get 2, and they're usually at the same time. So you don't get the like the sound effects mixture doesn't get the dialogue. And then it's usually 3 days mix or 2 days mix, and then like a playback. They're quick and they're fast. And yeah, I don't know anyone in Canada who hasn't like touched them at some point in their career. Like I know they're, you know, like I don't see them as often anymore. And like some people I work with, like Nelson and Nathan, they haven't seen them in years, if not probably a decade or so. But yeah, I think everyone's cut their teeth or has had to do those. They're, at least for facilities, they make money. They're quick, they're fast, you know. So yeah, Technicolor, we did a lot of them. And yeah, the on the edit side is just, there is a bit of a formula for those. You get kind of used to them. You know, there's still work, there's still detail in them and stuff. But you kind of learn where that threshold of like, okay, here's good and here's like, you know, too much detail and stuff. And same with the mix, you know, it's just, you kind of go that, and they're really good for speed. When I was starting to get actual mixes at Technicolor, those are the first things I did. And it's funny because like, oh, it's, you know, easy Hallmark movie, but I'm like, you learn to mix really fast and your ear gets really good because it you know, it's maybe not the most dynamic projects, but they need to sound good. So you learn to put things in spots really fast. Yeah, and you know, they're also fun for once you've done a couple, you're like, okay, you can usually try something new on them. It's like that's the one of like, oh, you know what? There's this new reverb plugin. I'll have my usual one set up, but I'll try a couple of new ones with this. So they're great for that. I think they're a good training tool if used properly. So the only downside is sometimes when you're mixing Christmas and it's July. I've done plenty of them where it's, you know, 20 degrees outside and they're celebrating Christmas. It's like, okay.
It either makes you annoyed with Christmas or it makes you just be like, oh man, I wish it was Christmas right now.
I've had both. I've had some years where I'm like, oh, Christmas. Where other years I'm like, man, I am so happy it's Christmas. Like, let's go. So
I also saw that you worked on some part of the Paw Patrol movie. Did you, just like as a fellow Canadian, I think Timothy Muirhead is also in Toronto and he worked on the show. Did you guys get to work together at all or that? Or did you guys get to like kind of chat about his workflow? I was just like, I put that all together and I was like, oh, that's cool. Worlds colliding. It's so small.
So that was interesting because that was my last thing I did at Technicolor before I went freelance, and like I'd put my notice partway into that movie. And I'm like, my boss and I talked and I was like, I'll finish this movie and then like, that'll be my last thing.
Paw Patrol was your final straw.
Yeah. To be fair, the movie's great. Like, you know, it's, obviously age bracket wise, I'm not the demographic. Um, but they're well done and they are packed with sound. And like I didn't know, like I knew of the show, but I didn't know till later. Like I saw a poster for the show and I'm like, this doesn't look the same. Like they definitely give it the movie treatment. Like the dogs have more detailed fur and like stuff. And yeah, again, there's so much sound in there. And then as far as with Tim, it's funny. I met Tim maybe like half a year later for the first time. So he didn't work on the movie.
Oh, okay.
So I asked him like, hey, like what happened? Hoping that it wasn't a delicate thing.
Yeah.
The main answer I got was the show's schedule is pretty busy.
Oh, yeah.
So it's basically, the show's going and going. So he's doing that. And they went with a bit more of a different team with the films. And they got some people with, just a bit more, I guess, film credits. But it was mostly just the fact that, like, for them to take the team on the show, I think was too difficult to put them on the movie. So it was like, okay, let's do this, and then we'll have a different team for the movie.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Which is cool, because then you got two different dynamics of the show and the movies and stuff. So, yeah. And yeah, that was fun, because I got to assist, I always mess up his last name, and I shouldn't. With Bernard from Montreal, who was Oscar nominated for Arrival. As one of the mixers, or the mixer, I believe. And he was fantastic. Yeah. So he came over from Montreal. He was with us for, was it a couple months, I guess? At least a couple months, maybe. And I had fun because my wife's from Quebec too, so it was it's fun having him around. And he's so good. His ears are insane. So yeah, it was kind of a fun like last project, as I'm like, okay, like I want to finish this up, because at the funny enough, at the time it was probably one of the biggest viewed projects I was gonna work on. Because the show is so popular.
Yeah.
At least in Canada. I don't know outside of Canada, but like it's huge. So.
Yeah, I don't know much outside of Canada either, but my little cousin, she's obsessed with it, and I can't wait until like she gets older and I get to like cringe her out by being like, guess what? And she's like, what? And I'm like, I know people who have worked on the Paw Patrol movie. She's like, now I tell her and she's like, I don't care. What is that? It's my favorite movie, but they're real.
Yeah, it's funny. I bought one of the toys specifically from like the Paw Patrol movie toy line.
Oh, yeah.
Just to like have. I was like, I worked on a movie with toys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the equivalent of getting something from on set.
Yeah, basically.
But not really.
Yeah.
For post-production people.
Yeah. I made sure, so I got Rubble, the little bulldog who uses construction things, because he was my favorite.
There you go.
Yeah, that's and I will say I had the Paw Patrol theme stuck in my head even after the movie was done. It was, anytime I hear the word Paw Patrol, sometimes I'm like, okay, yeah. Even the other,
it's gonna be stuck in my head.
Yeah. Even some of the other assistants who weren't like working on it, just hearing it down the hall and stuff, we'd all be singing it to ourselves at our desks in our assistant room. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. This is more of like this is like a recent thing that came into my mind as a question. I heard apparently that now for producers in the States, if they hire like an entire production and post-production team in Canada, they get like tax incentives for like their production teams. Have you noticed like a recent like uptick in work as like, especially as a freelancer?
There's
from the States?
We've always like one of the reasons I actually got hired at Technicolor was we had the show The Strain, which was technically a US show, but it was filming and posting up here in Toronto. And yeah, so the tax I think it's changed over the years, but yeah, the
Mm-hmm.
tax credit's been a big thing. And it's brought in people up. Uh, and it's happening slowly. At least I feel like there's been a change, but before it was the thing was come for the tax breaks but stay for the talent. And there's been a bit of a shift of now that we've, I guess, proven ourselves
Mm.
over the last however many years. It's come for the talent, and then the
Mm.
tax break's also there. But it has helped, yeah. Like I know, at least on the production side for filming, Toronto's like it's insane the amount of filming that happens in not just Toronto in
Mm-hmm.
Canada, from stuff down there. I mean, I'm sure there's a number or a stat somewhere of how many times Toronto's been other metropolises in other, like,
Mm.
it's how many times it's been New York or whatever big cities.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, like a lot of stuff I work on has been mostly, stuff that productions are coming up from the States. Yeah, it's cool, and it's also, because of how flexible we can all be, we can work anywhere kind of.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the tax benefit has helped with that.
Yeah,
So,
it's becoming more now. Like even now in Saskatchewan had an incentive and then they lost it,
mm,
but now it's coming back. Which is really interesting. And I think Alberta has their own too. Because I know like quite a few shows have shot in Calgary too. Like I mean like the
yeah.
Last of Us show, that was in Calgary, which is
Even
crazy.
they were Canadian shows, but I worked Technicolor. We did all the mixing for Heartland. Yeah,
Oh, let's go. I
yeah.
love Heartland.
So yeah, there you go. As far as Canadian shows,
Yeah,
uh,
that is very, very
yeah,
exclusively Canadian.
funny enough, we had both Heartland and Murdoch Mysteries, and
Okay.
they'd always start up around the same time of the year at the same time, which was always, it was cool though, because it was like two long-lasting Canadian shows were, always in the building. But yeah, so we worked on Heartland, and then the same production was behind Winona Earp, which is another Canadian
Okay.
show. Fun show based on a comic book or graphic
Hmm.
novel, and got a huge strong fan base. But yeah, they've got their own, like you said, Last of Us has been filming up there, so yeah, they've definitely
Mm-hmm.
got their own stuff too. East Coast is busy off and on too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's really cool to see people coming up and filming, and then also just realizing that there's a bunch of like talent up here. Um, so
People forget about Canada just a little bit.
yeah, and that I think that's been the hardest thing is just, hey, come up, but they come up and they get surprised of like work ethic and just talent, and like, oh wow, everyone up here is really good. It's like, yeah, we're really good. And that's none of that to dismiss anyone, from like from LA or,
Oh,
that
absolutely. Yeah.
scene. It's just nice that there's like, we're all good. It's not
Yeah.
just, oh, you have to go to Hollywood. And there's a lot of people, at least in the sound, like I know, I don't know them directly, but like, tons of people down there who are actually from Canada who are
Yeah.
down there, who are fixtures in the LA post scene, who are,
Mm.
originally from Toronto. So yeah.
Yeah. The Canadians.
Yep.
Before I ask our like famous last Field and Foley question, do you have like any upcoming projects or things that you've worked on recently or anything that's came out that you would like to shout out, or your socials or anything?
um I the last big movie I mixed was the sequel to Ready or Not. So
Oh,
Ready or Not, Here I Come is coming out on March 20th, and it
sweet.
was so much fun. It takes it. It's one of those movies. If you've seen the first one, you're like, "How did they do a sequel? Did it need a sequel?" And it's like, no, it doesn't matter. It's a good movie and it's fun. It took stuff from the first one and just makes it, bigger and more like better, or just, amps it up. But yeah, that's one I hope people go and see. The directors were awesome. Um, it's a team. Like there's two of them, which was a fun dynamic. I've never had two directors. And they were great, and it was fun seeing like strength and weaknesses back and forward. And yeah, and it was in big Atmos theatrical. So I had there's definitely some times where I had fun with objects and just flying things around and trying to hit all the speakers at once. There's one or two moments. I won't obviously can't spoil it yet, but there's one or two moments where I'm like, hey, am I hitting every single speaker with this shot? So yeah, I hope people go and see that one. So
nice. Oh, I'm excited to watch it now. gotta go find a theater.
Yep. Yeah.
All right. Well, here is our question. What is the first sound you ever recorded, and why did you record it?
I've been thinking about this one because I knew this question was coming. I have thought about this when listening to the show, because I do listen to the show. I don't know what the quick answer is. Probably some sort of guitar thing, but as far as like not guitar thing, the first thing I can remember was it was for a project in school, and I needed to I had gotten recordings from someone else and I was going to mix it, but I wanted to put an intro on it, and I had a friend, and I had him like walk up to a door and knock on the door, and then it would open, and he just says, "Why?" It goes into this like hardcore, like metalcore song.
Oh, let's go.
But it was like my first time like getting like, okay, let's record your feet. Okay, let's record the door. And then it was funny because I was kind of trying to voice direct. And it was the classic, like I drove him and I annoyed him so much that the last take he did actually was the best take, because at that point he was like, he said why, and he was so upset and disdain. I'm like, that one. He's like, I hate you so much. I was like, perfect, let's go. So yeah, that's probably my thing. This little intro to a song that I had done. Yeah,
that is sick. That is awesome. You got him to method act a little bit.
Oh yeah, I broke him.
Awesome. That is sweet. Well, it was awesome talking to you. Thank you so much for being on here. This is a blast. I am so excited to go and listen to your other ones like Leopard now. I'm excited.
Yeah, that one's anything. I'm not sure. I'll have to find that out for you. Yeah. No, it's a good one.
Well, thank you so much, and I hope you have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
Looking for more audio-related podcasts to listen to? We're part of the Audio Podcast Alliance, featuring a hand-picked selection of the very best podcasts about sound. Be sure to hear the latest episodes from our friends in the community at audiopodcast.org. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please consider supporting on patreon.com/fieldandfoley or ko-fi.com/fieldandfoley, where you gain early access to episodes in lossless format and can submit questions for our guests. Thank you for listening.